9 hydrangea care mistakes to avoid for stunning blooms. Hello friends and welcome back to Earthly Delights. If you're here today, chances are you love surrounding yourself with green life. Whether that means a sunlit backyard full of blooms, a small city balcony with potted treasures, or a few carefully chosen indoor plants that brighten up your living space. You're the kind of person who finds joy in nurturing, who feels calm when hands are in soil, and who dreams of seeing flowers reward your care with color and abundance. And if there's one plant that has captured the heart of gardeners everywhere, it's the hydrangea. These shrubs are often called the crown jewels of the summer garden. Their blooms can transform a simple corner into a breathtaking display. Yet I know many of you have struggled, wilting leaves, flowers that never appear, or blossoms that aren't quite the colors you imagined. Don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, most of these disappointments come from simple mistakes, ones that even seasoned gardeners make without realizing it. Today, I'm going to walk you through 9 hydrangea care mistakes you absolutely must avoid if you want those jaw-dropping, healthy blooms. Stick with me until the end, because you'll not only learn how to prevent these missteps, you'll feel confident enough to transform your hydrangeas into showstoppers. And before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Earthly Delights so you never miss more plant wisdom designed for gardeners just like you. Part 1: The Soil Secrets. Your hydrangeas wish you knew. When it comes to hydrangeas, the story always begins underground. Their blooms may steal the spotlight, but their roots tell the real tale. Many gardeners, perhaps even you, have unknowingly set their plants up for years of struggle simply because of what lies beneath the surface. Hydrangeas are picky about soil, not too wet, not too dry, and never starved of organic richness. Think of them like guests at a fine dinner table. They thrive when served a balanced meal, but they suffer quickly if given too much or too little. I've met countless gardeners who proudly plant their hydrangeas in whatever patch of ground is free, only to find the leaves drooping and the flowers refusing to appear. The truth is, rocky or sandy soils drain water too fast, leaving roots gasping for moisture. Heavy clay soils, on the other hand, can suffocate roots, trapping water until rot sets in. Both extremes are recipes for disappointment. But here's the good news: soil can always be improved. With just a few scoops of compost or well-aged organic matter, you can turn a stubborn patch of earth into a nurturing bed that hydrates while still breathing. Imagine your hydrangea's roots stretching comfortably into soft, crumbly soil, drawing up exactly what they need, no more and no less. This is the foundation of every lush bloom you'll enjoy later. Before we even talk about colors, sunlight, or pruning, it's this hidden world beneath your feet that decides whether your hydrangeas will merely survive or truly thrive. And as we move forward, you'll see how each choice you make builds upon this very first secret: the soil they call home. Part 2: The Color Puzzle. Why your blooms don't match your dreams. One of the most magical things about hydrangeas is their ability to change color, almost like a mood ring for your garden. But this magic often confuses gardeners. You may have planted a bush with vivid blue blossoms one summer, only to be surprised by soft pinks or even a mix of shades the following year. It feels almost like your plant is playing tricks on you, but in reality, it's simply responding to the soil's pH. Hydrangeas, especially the mophead and lacecap varieties, are incredibly sensitive to the chemistry of the ground they grow in. Acidic soils, rich in certain minerals, bring out that striking blue so many gardeners desire. More alkaline soils, on the other hand, shift the blooms toward pink. And when the soil sits somewhere in the middle, you'll often see a delightful mix, a single plant wearing both blue and pink at once. For some, it's an unexpected gift. For others, it feels like a broken promise. The mistake many gardeners make is assuming the color they bought is the color they'll always have. But hydrangeas don't work that way. They respond to their environment year after year. If your heart is set on maintaining that deep ocean blue, you'll need to step in and guide the soil with amendments like aluminum sulfate or specific acidifiers in early spring. If you prefer rosy tones, a touch of lime will do the trick. This color puzzle is part of the wonder of hydrangeas. They keep you engaged, asking you to interact with them, to pay attention, to create the palette you dream of. And that's what makes them so rewarding. They aren't just plants you leave to their own devices. They're living partners in the artistry of your garden. And once you learn to master this subtle dialogue with the soil, your hydrangeas will begin to show you the breathtaking colors you've been longing to see. Part 3, giving hydrangeas the right light to shine. Now that we've uncovered the secrets of soil and color, it's time to look upward, to the light that filters through your garden or balcony. Hydrangeas may seem like they can grow anywhere, but the truth is they have very specific tastes when it comes to sunshine and shade. This is where many plant lovers unknowingly go wrong. You might tuck your hydrangea into the brightest corner, thinking more sun equals more flowers, or place it in deep shade, assuming it will thrive like a woodland fern. But hydrangeas are far more nuanced. Big leaf varieties like moped and lacecap flourish in morning sun with gentle afternoon shade. Too much harsh light and their leaves wilt, too little and their blooms suffer. Oak leaf hydrangeas prefer a shadier retreat, happy in dappled light or even dense shade, yet they still want the sky to touch them for part of the day. And then there are panicle hydrangeas, the sun worshippers of the family, which actually perform their best under full light, dazzling you with luminous blooms even in the heat of summer. What complicates things further is climate. A gardener in a cooler northern zone might get away with more sun exposure, while someone in a hot southern climate must be vigilant, protecting delicate varieties from burning afternoons. Think of light as a conversation between your hydrangea and its surroundings. It doesn't demand extremes, it asks for balance. When you honor its specific needs, you'll notice the difference almost immediately. Fuller clusters, richer colors, and foliage that stands tall instead of drooping by midday. Getting the light right is like opening the curtains on a stage. It allows your hydrangea to perform at its very best. And with this foundation in place, we can now turn to the lifeblood of the plant itself, water. Part of watering wisdom, quenching their thirst the right way. If soil is the foundation and light is the stage, then water is the very lifeblood of your hydrangeas. Their very name, derived from the Greek word hydro, meaning water, is a reminder that these plants are never truly content without consistent moisture. Yet this is where so many gardeners stumble. Some forget to water until leaves droop dramatically, while others drown their shrubs with daily soakings, leaving roots gasping for air. Both extremes create stress, and stressed hydrangeas rarely reward you with the lush blooms you've been waiting for. Picture a hot summer's day, the sun pressing down, the soil beginning to crack, and your hydrangea's leaves folding inward as if pleading for relief. A single deep watering at the base of the plant can often revive it within hours, bringing it back to life in a way that feels almost miraculous. On the other hand, constant shallow watering never reaches the roots, encouraging weak growth and fragile flowers. The secret lies in rhythm. Hydrangeas generally need about an inch of water each week, but the real key is to water deeply and less frequently, allowing the soil to stay evenly moist without becoming swampy. Mulching around the base helps too, locking in precious moisture and shielding roots from the heat of the day. This is especially vital for gardeners who nurture their plants in containers, where soil dries out far more quickly than in the ground. When you learn to read your hydrangea's signals, wilting leaves that perk back up after a soak, soil that feels just damp enough, you begin to develop a kind of silent partnership. And once you master this balance, you'll find your hydrangeas not just surviving the summer heat, but thriving in it. With water flowing in harmony, the next question becomes, how much extra food should we offer these thirsty beauties? Part 5, feeding hydrangeas without overdoing it. After mastering water, many gardeners turn their attention to fertilizer, believing that more food will mean more flowers. It's a natural thought, and I've seen so many hopeful plant lovers pour extra nutrients into the soil, only to be puzzled when their hydrangeas respond with lush green leaves but hardly any blooms. The truth is, hydrangeas are generous plants, but they are not gluttons. Overfeeding them can tip the balance, pushing their energy into foliage at the expense of flowers. Think of fertilizer as seasoning in a recipe. A little brings out the best flavors, but too much can overwhelm the dish. Hydrangeas thrive with a measured approach, often just a single feeding in spring with the right type of fertilizer. Mophead and lacecap varieties, which lean toward acidic conditions, benefit from blends designed for acid-loving plants. Meanwhile, panicle and oakleaf hydrangeas are less demanding, happily taking in a general-purpose fertilizer. What matters most is moderation and timing. I've walked through gardens where overzealous feeding has even burned the roots, leaving behind scorched leaves and stunted growth. It's a harsh lesson, but one worth remembering. When it comes to hydrangeas, restraint is often the wiser path. Sometimes skipping fertilizer for a season even helps reset a plant, allowing it to find its own natural rhythm. The reward of careful feeding is unmistakable. Strong stems, balanced foliage, and blooms that unfold in all their intended glory. And as you find that balance between too much and too little, you'll begin to see how hydrangeas teach us patience and precision. With their diet in check, the next challenge many gardeners face is one that requires courage and a steady hand: pruning. Part 6. Pruning hydrangeas without cutting away. Their future pruning is one of those tasks that fills gardeners with both excitement and dread. There's something deeply satisfying about shaping a shrub, clearing away the old to make room for the new. But when it comes to hydrangeas, one wrong cut at the wrong time can mean an entire season without flowers. I've met gardeners who lovingly trim their shrubs in early spring, only to spend the summer staring at bare stems in empty spaces where blooms should have been. The heart of the issue is this: not all hydrangeas bloom on the same kind of wood. Some, like mophead and oakleaf varieties, flower on old wood, the stems that formed the year before. If you cut those stems back too aggressively, you've essentially snipped away the very buds that were waiting to burst into bloom. On the other hand, smooth and panicle hydrangeas bloom on new wood, meaning that strong pruning in late winter or early spring actually encourages more vigorous growth and more flowers. The key is knowing your plant. Take a little time to learn which type you're growing and then prune accordingly. If you're unsure, start small. Remove only the dead or damaged branches, shape lightly, and observe how your plant responds over the season. Keeping a simple garden journal, noting bloom times and pruning dates can be a game changer, turning guesswork into confidence year after year. Pruning should feel less like surgery and more like a gentle conversation with your plant, listening, adjusting, and respecting its natural rhythm. Done right, it rewards you with stronger growth and abundant flowers. And once you've built this trust with your hydrangea, the next step is ensuring it has the space and environment it needs to keep thriving season after season. Part 7. Choosing the right spot and giving hydrangeas room to grow. Every hydrangea tells a story, and that story begins with where you choose to plant it. Too often, I've seen these beautiful shrubs tucked under large trees, squeezed between other plants, or pushed against fences with little room to breathe. At first, it may seem like they'll manage just fine, but over time, their struggle becomes obvious. Smaller blooms, weaker stems, and leaves that never quite glow with health. The truth is, hydrangeas are not plants that enjoy competition. They are stars of the garden, and like all stars, they need their own stage. Planting under a tree, for example, may look picturesque, but those tree roots are relentless. They steal water and nutrients, leaving your hydrangea with scraps. Crowding them into tight spaces creates another problem: poor air circulation, which invites pests and disease. And while hydrangeas love companionship in the garden, they do best when surrounded by partners that respect their space rather than rivals that suffocate them. Before planting, it helps to imagine your hydrangea fully grown, reaching its mature size as listed on its tag. That little shrub you bring home from the nursery is only the beginning. With time, it wants to expand, stretch, and make its presence known. Giving it the right amount of space ensures that its roots grow strong, its branches spread evenly, and its blooms take center stage without being overshadowed. Selecting the right site is an act of foresight. It's like choosing the perfect spot in your home for a cherished piece of art. You want it to be seen, appreciated, and allowed to shine. When you give your hydrangeas this freedom, they reward you with vigor and beauty season after season. And once you've chosen the right space, the next challenge is not about where they live, but how they survive the toughest season of all: winter. Part 8. Protecting hydrangeas through the winter chill. When summer fades and autumn's leaves begin to fall, many gardeners breathe a sigh of relief. thinking the hardest work is over. But for hydrangeas, winter can be the most dangerous chapter of their year. I've seen countless gardeners nurture their shrubs beautifully through spring and summer, only to lose entire bloom cycles because the buds were unprotected when the cold winds arrived. It's a heartbreaking sight, bare stems in June where flowers should be, yet it's a mistake that can be avoided with just a little preparation. Hydrangea buds are especially vulnerable to sudden freezes. In mild climates, they may push through without issue, but in regions with harsh winters, protection is essential. A simple layer of mulch, mounded generously around the base, can insulate the roots and keep the soil temperature more stable. For added care, wrapping the shrub with burlap or using protective plant covers shields delicate buds from icy winds that strip away their strength. And if your hydrangea grows in a container, don't forget it's even more exposed. Moving the pot to a sheltered corner, garage, or covered porch can make all the difference between survival and disappointment. Think of this as tucking your hydrangea in for the season, giving it a blanket against the cold. It doesn't require fancy tools or elaborate effort, just attentiveness and consistency. By taking the time to guard your plants now, you set the stage for their glorious return in spring. And there's nothing quite as satisfying as seeing those protected buds unfurl into blooms, knowing your foresight carried them through. Once your hydrangeas have braved the winter safely, another challenge emerges, one faced especially by those gardening on patios, balconies, or small urban spaces: how to care for hydrangeas in containers. Part on caring for hydrangeas in containers the right way. For many of you watching, a sprawling backyard isn't part of your reality. Maybe you garden on a balcony high above the city, or perhaps your hydrangeas sit in decorative pots by the front door, greeting guests with their bursts of color. Container gardening is deeply rewarding, but it comes with its own set of challenges, and hydrangeas are quick to let you know if their needs aren't being met. I've seen plants in pots wilt far faster than those in the ground, their roots confined and their soil drying out in just a day under hot sun. It's easy to love them with too much water one week, then forget them the next, only to find the leaves scorched and tired. The key to success in containers is balance and attentiveness. Hydrangeas need large pots with proper drainage so their roots can breathe while still holding enough moisture to sustain those thirsty blooms. Fresh potting soil should be added every couple of years to prevent compaction and replenish nutrients. And a rolling stand beneath your pot can be a lifesaver, letting you chase the sun in spring and retreat to shade in the heat of summer. Unlike their cousins in garden beds, container hydrangeas live in a world you fully control. Their survival and beauty are tied directly to your daily habits. But this control is also empowering. It means you can adjust their position, soil, and watering rhythm with ease. It means you can grow hydrangeas even without land, bringing their elegance into apartments, patios, or small porches. And when you master these container-specific needs, you'll find that potted hydrangeas can rival, even surpass, the beauty of those rooted in the ground. With this final piece of the puzzle in place, we've walked through every mistake to avoid, preparing us for a closing reminder of how hydrangeas can truly transform not just our gardens, but our connection to them. Your journey to truly stunning hydrangeas. So here we are, at the end of our journey together. We've uncovered the hidden truths beneath the soil, explored the mysteries of color, balanced light and water, and even braved the challenges of pruning, space, and winter protection. Along the way, you've seen that hydrangeas aren't just plants, they're teachers. They remind us that balance matters, that timing is everything, and that care given with patience will always be returned in beauty. Whether your hydrangeas are rooted in a wide-open garden bed, nestled under a shady tree, or thriving in a simple pot on your balcony, avoiding these mistakes transforms them from struggling shrubs into true showstoppers. Every step you take, choosing the right soil, respecting their light, guarding them in winter, is a step toward building not only healthier plants, but also a deeper relationship with your garden. And now I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever made one of these mistakes? Maybe you've had hydrangeas bloom in colors you didn't expect, or lost flowers one year only to learn the secret the next. Share your stories in the comments below. I promise your experience could inspire another gardener who's just beginning their own journey. If this video that has sparked new ideas or given you the confidence to care for your hydrangeas in a fresh way, then make sure to subscribe to Earthly Delights. Here, we grow more than plants. We grow knowledge, joy, and connection, one bloom at a time. Until next time, may your garden flourish and your hydrangeas reward you with the breathtaking beauty you deserve.